The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Thank you, Tally Olson, and thank you, listening audience. I'm back, Ralph Tycho with the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network, and the segment is Lovin' Baseball When We Were 12 and Innocent. And I have a great guest today. He's a son of a major leaguer, a big league scout today. And what I want to know from David May Jr., how are you, David?
I'm doing well. Thanks a lot for having me.
All right. Welcome to the show. What I want to know is what it was like when you were 12 and innocent, baseball-wise. I know you went to spring training with your dad in his last year playing ball. And what was it like being a son of a major leaguer?
Well, to be very honest, when I was born, I was, my dad was in AAA. And so I never knew what my dad did as being different. And I think it was just one of those things where I think later on, as he got to the end of his career, then that's when the realism of being 12 and 13 and, the realism of what he did for a living, where it hits you. And, but pretty much other than that, it seemed very normal.
Okay. How about baseball for yourself? Did you play amateur ball? I'm sure by 12 you had decided, boy, I like this game.
Yeah, I played at 12, I played in a very competitive little league, which is kind of sad to see how it is now. But it was a very competitive little league, had a flourishing major league system, had a big minor league system where you had to be good enough to play in the minor leagues to get to the major leagues at 11 and 12. You had players that were 11 and 12 in the minor leagues. And my little league, we had so many players playing. But it was called New York National Little League. They've actually been to the Little League World Series a few times. I was at that age, I was playing Little League and I was an all-star as a center fielder.
Okay. What's the best advice you had from your dad over in your young years?
So I think the best advice was that, he said, take every day. Every day was the same. Every day was a new challenge. And that was the big thing is like, you need to practice and work on your skill every day. And he said to me, the big thing was, like he said, where you are now is not where you're going to be. And he always instilled, like, you are, the big thing was like, this game is a game of accumulated knowledge. And it never, as I sit back and as I'm 55 years old now, I understand exactly what he meant. The more you keep playing, the more you compete, it gets easier. But you don't know it in that moment when it can be really tough.
I'll bet, just thinking, that transcends to scouting, because you look at a kid, where is he now, or where is he going to be 5 years from now, in addition to where he is now, and will he be able to develop? Does that go into your scouting, into your thinking?
Yeah, absolutely. So if we want to look on it at that end, I say the when we talk about amateur scouting is something I did for 13 years. And what you're always looking at is it's the glass half full, and you're looking at what the player could possibly be, and you're always hoping, that they reach their full potential, and that's including what we call overall future potential is when you grade. Now,
David,
when you get to
who scouted you when you were an amateur?
Who scouted me?
Yeah.
Oh, I was drafted by the California Angels out of high school, but at that time, that tells you the name itself tells you how long ago that was. And, but I ended up playing baseball. I accepted a scholarship at the University of Delaware. I played baseball at University of Delaware, and that's where I played pretty much all over the field.
How old were you? What year did you become a professional with the Angels?
Oh no, I was drafted out of high school, and I declined and attended the university, accepted a scholarship at the University of Delaware.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah,
and
I ended up,
how did you get to Columbia, which was I'm a New Yorker, and I have great memories of Columbia on a lot of different levels. How did you get from Delaware to Columbia University?
So actually, I played baseball at the University of Delaware. Columbia University is actually where I took classes in sports analytics. And that's actually, I did that several years ago, 2018. So, but yeah, I graduated from the University of Delaware in an international relations degree, and then I ended up actually doing a master's degree, and that was in exercise and physical fitness, so physical and that. So.
Okay. What do you remember best from being a kid, baseball-wise? What was your head like?
I think as a kid, I remember just having the access to so many, because I was in the clubhouse. I was there for batting practice with my dad when he was home. We loved when the team was home for a homestand, because you could get to the field early and be on the field and catch fly balls and everything else, and just kind of being around players that were great players, and you didn't realize it at the time, but it was like I say, like my dad was traded from Milwaukee to Atlanta for Hank Aaron, and I remember when we moved right next to Dusty Baker, right next door actually. And when we had and it was just kind of just the players being around players in that capacity, where they were just that's the thing I take most about it.
Did you get to meet Roland Office?
I did. Yeah. He played.
Wow.
Yeah. He played. Yeah. Actually,
he played he came up in Sacramento and was coached by Manuel Perry Jr., a really good friend of mine when I lived there. And he coached at Post 61. And he and Dusty were there literally when Hank hit the home run. I think Roland was on deck or on base, but not on base, but on deck. So did they share memories of Hank and what it was like playing with him?
I don't remember like any stories directly related to Hank. I am actually friends with his son Larry, and what happened at that period of time was when Hank actually was traded, and my dad came in his place. The Aaron family welcomed us in, and we, without his father there, or without their father there, we spent time in their home in Atlanta while he was playing in Milwaukee. So we knew his wife at the time and knew his kids, but we didn't spend too much time around Hank. But the big thing was, like, my dad admired him because he's just so consistent. My dad actually was hired by Hank later on, just as a hitting instructor for the Atlanta Braves when Hank ran player development. So it was a nice crew in that they had Cito Gaston, they had my dad, and they had Dusty starting out as coaches.
Wow, what memories!
Mm-hmm.
What didn't, over the years, what disappointed you about baseball itself, how it's changed?
I just think that's kind of an easy one for me. I think that we've taken a step back and let football, become the national pastime, and that we don't reach into the communities and fund the playing. We let it go for so long, where we don't actually make the game a part of like everyday life. And it's not like, even today, we would be talking, normally in past years when I was a kid, we'd be talking about baseball, and we just gave that to the NFL and gave that to the NBA, and the representation in the sport to Sean.
Oh yes, 13% blacks in the major leagues at this point. That's disgraceful. The lowest number of players since 1950, or something to that effect. It's horrible. What's the number one reason for that?
I think the number one reason for that is just I just kind of alluded to it. I think it at the grassroots level, the sport is not being funded properly, and it's not being offered. You don't see kids, playing catch, having pickup games of baseball. So you don't have interest from the young, from the youth. And I think that with that, now the kids have become a lot more specialized if they do have baseball as an interest, and they stick with one sport. And I think with that, I think it's becomes a financial issue, and most kids, including myself, when I was 17, couldn't have played for like a team that traveled and where you had to put out a huge outlay of money, out front in order to play. And that's the way you're seen, and that's the way you're recruited nowadays. It's different, and it's a difficult sport to get into if you don't have the means.
Okay. Who is making changes in today's game so this can be reversed? Who's on board for that?
Yeah. So many of the African American major league players, and some that have retired, they created the Players Alliance. The Players Alliance itself has got I guess Major League Baseball has agreed to donate them, I think, a huge amount of money. I think it was $10 million in order to help to develop programs, clinics within, and to sponsor travel ball teams and things like that within the communities that need money, that are impoverished. I think that is a big step in the right direction. I think I work here at the Wilmington Little League, my local Little League, and the certain teams, they actually will come, like the Phillies will come here and and do clinics and things like that. So it's been passed to the individual clubs, and and it always helps. Like say with the Phillies run, it always helps to generate that interest and spark that interest that has kind of been dormant, and to have players that can come into this community and do a clinic. I think that pays. That will eventually pay off. And we'll see what happens, but I think that that some of the teams are doing a really good job of creating these clinics and the players lines. I think an investment of Major League Baseball, and there's places like the Perfect Game who are now working to sponsor travel ball teams that will play in the tournaments for players who cannot afford it. So there's some outreach.
Beautiful. It's very exciting that somebody's doing something, and if not all teams, there are some that are concerned.
Right. Absolutely. I can speak for my my organization. We have something called Jay's Care, and Jay's Care does clinics all throughout Canada. And it's probably one of the more successful ones, and it's created a lot of interest in the game, and we're seeing the benefits of it with more Canadian players.
Okay. David, before I ask you about your scouting experience, I want to know which rule changes do you like recent rule changes in baseball, and which rule changes particularly don't you like?
Yeah, I do like the pitch clock. I think that is necessary. They've experimented with it at the minor league level, and the pace of play has been good, and it hasn't really affected the players. I think maybe as fans, there's less time in between for entertainment, stuff like that in the minor leagues. So maybe they miss a little of that, but the games move quickly, and I like that. I think the shift rule. I'm not really a fan of the ban on the shift. I believe that that the good hitters adjust, and I would like to, and I'm not sure how that's going to play out, but it should be interesting. There's a lot of players that have really struggled the last few years that the people are hoping for an uptick in their performance. We'll see. We'll see, but I don't like that rule change. I also don't like the pickoff rule. I hate that.
Because that gives a runner free rein to steal after the third throw or the fourth throw, whatever it is. That's crazy. You know what I don't like about the shift is that it puts players out of their traditional position to make plays. The double play, for instance, you got a third baseman playing right field. You got shortstops not going to be in a position to get there for the double play. I'm glad they're making a change on that level. What's in there that you don't like?
What's in there that I don't like about the shift? I just don't like the thought that you make adjustments as a player, and I think that if somebody's giving you a base hit on the left field line, you're not taking it. There's a way you can change the shift. It's like you hit the ball the other way, and I just think to make it illegal to do it, I think it goes against the way of play. I just think that if you want to do something ridiculous and you want to put all your infielders on one side of the field and the other team doesn't take advantage of it, it's the same thing as for me. It's the same thing as for me as like if a guy is giving me his signs and you tell me I can't use them. You're telling me what you're going to do. So if I take advantage of it, I should take advantage of it if you show me your signs. But it's like in this situation, it's like you're making it mandatory.
Yeah.
that you can't take advantage of the situation, and they have to stay in their space. Actually, it's like you have to be in shortstop. You have to be on that side of the diamond and everything else, and you can shift the third baseman to the shortstop spot. But it's I don't think we should get into positioning. Maybe into the nuts and bolts of the game is kind of crazy for me.
David, what do you like most about your scouting or your job as a scout, and what frustrates you? What don't you like about it?
The thing. So right now, what I do is I'm a pro. I do pro scouting. I do anything from the major league down to the minor leagues. To the bottom of the minor leagues. And the thing I like the most about what I do is that in this role that I can affect by what my opinion is. I can affect a trade. I can affect a change on the team, and I can watch it play out. And it's like your impact is kind of immediate, and that when you help to see certain players and you make a recommendation, and you've got others, and you're included and you're included along a lot of information that isn't out there, and you get a chance to see like young players before they become stars and superstars, and that's like that's where I really enjoy it. Is just seeing players before they're stars and having that impact at the major league level and helping your organization win.
What frustrates you?
Oh, I don't know. When you do this job, I think you kind of buy into what you need to do. I think that maybe what could frustrate you is that you could do everything right. You could get everybody right, and you can get the right players, right team, and then you can watch another team, outspend you on a certain player.
Or injuries can affect things and take hold. Is there are there some teams that avoid injuries more than, say, my Mets? Is it a traditional thing that some teams are better prepared, their training staff, stretching, philosophy of not overusing pitchers? What can make it better? Because it seems like, and I joke about my Mets, not just my Mets, incredible amount of injuries.
Yeah.
What do you attribute that to, and how could that be reversed?
Yeah, I don't think any of us has to figure it out. I think you've seen a lot of teams that have allocated, a lot of money into development on that issue. Right now, with the Blue Jays, I work for Mark Shapiro, and he, was instrumental in getting at the time, the Cleveland Indians high performance staff together, and that was kind of thought to be new and different. And now you see most teams employ high performance staffs. There's certain indicators, obviously, that will tell you why certain teams stay, you know, healthy and others don't, and generally that goes to age and past injuries. You know, the older your team is, the more likely they're going to break down at some point. You know, the key players are, or if they have injuries.
Is staying within yourself part of it? I mean, because it wasn't so long ago when 100 miles an hour seemed like Bob Feller and very few, and Herb Score maybe, and very few others. And now it's almost become commonplace. The crafty left-hander like Bobby Shantz, that type of thing, doesn't even get a look. So is it all speed, and are pitchers pitching out of themselves, out of their bodies, and bound to break down because of it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that absolutely plays into it. I think that you know, as more, it used to be like the players, you know, they didn't put as much emphasis on being in shape out of the season, and now it's like you're building yourself back up to be even better the upcoming season with throwing programs and weight training and things like that. You know, during the off season, and the guys, you know, they're bigger and stronger, and you know, they throw harder than they ever have, and you know, that doesn't necessarily mean they're better, you know, because the overall feel isn't as great. But it definitely, being tightly wound, lifting, you know, those things, you know, will play into it, or the not even just giving yourself that time off. But like I said, I think, you know, a big concern for most teams, I mean, when you look at a team, when you look at teams like, you know, like we saw the Yankees, and when you looked at their age and their past, guys who get injured every year, you know, so it's like, that's the way, you know, so I mean, it's like, it's a risk reward thing. Is that player worth that time that he's in there? And you're a Mets fan with DeGrom, you know, is he worth it to you that, you know, 40% of the season he's going to pitch? Or is it too risky for you? And, you know, that's the thing about it. It's like, you know, I think it's the way you make that, you construct that roster where you can figure out if you can take some risk, and younger players generally, they don't break down as quickly, at least the young position players do. The pitchers will.
Now, relief pitchers are a crapshoot from year to year. Do you agree with that? Forming a bullpen is almost impossible to do. Yeah,
I mean, I agree. There's the elite guys who are very consistent. You know what you're going to get every year, and then there's those ones like in that setup that, you know, good reliever that, you know, they do tend to fluctuate, you know, or their effectiveness tends to fluctuate depending on their situation, depending on, you know, where they're pitching, the ballpark, you know, and everything else. But yeah, I mean, relief pitching, that's why it's difficult to say give a middle reliever, you know, more than like a year or 2-year deal. You just, you know, because there's a reason they're a middle reliever, you know, because they're not consistent. They're not consistent.
Right. Hey, David, what a great show. You are forthcoming, articulate, and I'm very appreciative of your time. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, Ross. Appreciate it.
Okay. Please come back again soon and often. And I'm thankful that you made it. And to you out there listening, I'm enjoying this. I enjoyed today very, very much. Thank you, David. David May Jr. I'm Ralph Tycho, Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. I'm the weak link of it all, but I can get some interesting guests. Got to give me that. Please come back and hear us on another day. And I just want to say happy trails.
The proceeding has been a Comfortably Zoned network production. You are advised to keep your dreams wet, your humor dry, your children and grandchildren out of military recruiting offices and off the laps of clerics who wear dresses. Thank you for listening, everyone. Happy trails.